Beautiful. Bubbles, I got our sign up form done. What's up everyone, and welcome to Hello World episode 11, Sign Up Form UI. As with every video, we're implementing a new feature into our Hello World website, so if there's something you would like to see coded up and implemented, let me know in the comments down below. Let's get into the episode. By the end of this episode, we're going to have a sign up form styled up with HTML and CSS. When we click on our user's nav and go to the sign up page, presented with a sign up form. We have a nice little section here centered in the middle of the screen. We have a nice little hover effect on each of our input fields. And when we click on an input field, it's going to highlight, and we're going to get a nice little glowy effect around the border of the focused input field. And it's also going to look good on mobile. So if we hit F12, clear our emulator icon here, this is what it will look like on mobile. The form adjusts nicely to 100% width of our website if it's on a mobile device. Let's code. Alright, so we're going to begin in our Hello World folder, our app, controllers, and we need to create a new controller here for our sign up page. So we're going to create a sign up controller. Call this sign up, and then over in our text editor, we're going to open up that controller. App, controllers, sign up. And we're going to open up our home controller so we can copy and paste some of the similar functionality. We need our class defined. The class is going to be sign up. Then we're going to define our index function, which is our default function for our sign up controller. Then inside the home controller's index function, we're going to copy everything and paste that inside of our sign up index function. So we have our define here for our controller name, our HTML title. We're going to update this to be sign up. This is what will appear in the tab that you have open in the browser. Then the rest can stay the same because these are all variables here, and our HTML head is going to be loading up from our signup/HTML head, and the HTML body will be loading from our signup/HTML body. And then all that will be loaded into our global default template HTML. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our HTML head and our HTML body for our sign up page. Back in our File Explorer, our app views, we're going to copy over our home folder and we're going to name this sign up. Now we have our HTML head and our HTML body files for our sign up page. Back in our text editor, we're going to open those views up. There's our sign up folder just created, HTML head, and our HTML body. We're going to first look at our HTML head file, which will load in between the HTML head tags. Over in our templates default HTML, right before the closing head tag, our HTML head is being loaded. So whatever we place in here will be loaded right here on page load for our sign up view. Same with our HTML body. Whatever we put in here, we're going to get rid of all this because it's going to be different from the home page, but anything we put in here will be loaded right here in our PHP Echo HTML body. First, going to look at our HTML head and get that set up. We have our page specific CSS and our page specific JavaScript stuff here. Only stuff we want to load for sign up will be loaded in this HTML head file. Our styles.css and our script.js. And these are located in the CSS and JS folders inside of our base URL assets folder. Back to the File Explorer, app, assets, here's our CSS and our JS folder. So inside of each of these folders, we're going to create a new folder for our sign up, and then inside of that folder, we're going to create a styles.css file. We're going to hop back to the assets JS folder and do the same thing for JavaScript. Create a sign up folder. And inside of that sign up folder, we're going to create a script.js file. Now, our link here is linking to our CSS sign up styles.css, which is right here. And our script is linking to our JS sign up script.js, which is right here. And for this video, we are not going to be doing any JavaScript. We're just going to be doing the HTML and the CSS. So we're going to close our script.js file. We'll get to that in future episodes. We're also going to close our styles.css file because we're actually not going to have any sign up page specific styles for this video either. Back on our website, you'll notice that styles for the input, styles for the input hover, styles for the input focus, we're going to be reusing these all throughout our site on the login page, on the user setting page, and so we want to put these styles in our global CSS. Our global CSS files in our CSS templates default styles.css. Here's where all the styles go that get included on every page of our website, because this style sheet is included here on our template HTML, right here, template specific CSS. Now we can move on to our HTML body. And the first thing we want to create is our section container, which is this div that contains the whole form. It's also used over here on our homepage, section container, right here. We're going to open up our views home HTML body and copy our class section container right here. Then we're going to create an h1 tag here for our heading and give it a class of section title. Our title is sign up. We're going to copy our section title and style it up right here in our global styles. We're going to give it a text align of center. Before we get too far in, we want to make sure it's easy for us to get to this page and test it out. We're going to go over to our template default HTML. We're going to find our sign up link, which is in the users menu dropdown, user menu item, sign up. And instead of going to our home page, which is our home controller, we now have a sign up page, and we can tell the href to go to our sign up page when it's clicked. So we just add on sign up, which is our controller, to our base URL. Now let's refresh our page, hop up here, and click the sign up. and we have been taken to our sign up page where we have our section container and our title is being displayed. Now we can start styling up our inputs. After our H1 title, we're going to start defining our inputs, and each input is going to be contained within a div, and we're going to give that div a class and call it section row. Over in our styles, we're going to give it a style, and we're going to give it a margin top of 15 pixels. This way, each input field that we have on the page has a little padding in between each other. Then we have our input. Type equals text. The first input will give a placeholder of email and a class of input default. So now we're going to style up our input default class. .input default, we're going to begin with an outline of none. Then we're going to give it our own border. 1 pixel solid, 3B, 3B, 3B. Border radius of 5 pixels, some nice rounded corners. We want the width to be 100%. Give it some padding, 10 pixels. Set the font size to be 16 pixels. And box sizing, border box, so the input field is 100% of the div that it's contained in. Then for our font family, we're going to use our Google font face up here that we created in a previous episode. Space Grotesque Bold. Paste that right there. We want the color of our text in the input field to be white, and we're going to give it a background color. 1F, 1F, 1F. That's our input field styled up. Let's reload our browser and check out our default input class. There it is. Our input field has a nice border on it. It's got border radius, a little darker background. It's not transparent, and the text in here should be white. Now we need to add our input hover event. So whenever the input gets hovered over, the background changes color. Right after our input default, we're going to do our input default hover. And this is a real simple one. We're just going to change the background color. Now if we refresh our sign up page and we hover over our input field, see the background changed color. Hover off of it and it goes back to the normal state. After our hover, we have our focus. Input default focus. This is triggered whenever the user actually clicks inside of the input field. So we still want to leave the background the same color as the hover, but we also want to add a little box shadow around it so it highlights the input field that the user is focused on. And we're going to steal our box shadow from our header container and use that on our input focus as well. Save that. Now if we refresh our page and we click inside of the input field, you'll see it kind of lights up and it gets that nice little glow effect so the user knows which input field they're focused on. And that should take care of the different states for our input default. Now under our input, we need to be able to display an error message to the user in case we need to let them know something's wrong with their input. Under our input, we're going to create a div, give it a class, call it input error message. And then we're going to style that up, create a class over here for it. We're going to give it a red color, margin top of 5 pixels, so it's not bumped right up against the input field when it's shown, and then a font size of 12 pixels. And then let's put a message in here so we can see how it's looking. Email invalid or already registered. And that's what our error message will look like. It'll pop up right underneath our input field. But on page load, we want all error messages to be display none. In our next episode, we're going to add some front-end validation where we will be toggling the input error message based on the text within that field. We have styled up our input and our error message. Now all it's left to do is create all the inputs that we want on our sign-up form. We're just going to copy our section row, and our next input is going to be our username. Place the error message in here for username, user invalid or taken. We're going to require it to be a minimum of 4 characters long and alphanumeric only. After our username, then we have our first name. Our error message here, you can just say invalid name. After our first name, we have our last name. And then after our last name comes our password. And our password error message will be passwords don't match and or are not 8 characters long. We have to make sure that we update the type to be password. That way when the user types in this input field here, they'll just see dots on the screen and not the actual text. And then the password that we're going to be comparing that to is our confirm password. And we can leave that error message the same. All right, let's comment out our error message here, display none, just so we can get a feel for how our form is looking. There we go. We have all our inputs. The input hover event is working on each of them. And if we click on one, it will highlight and the text will be white when we start typing. And lastly, we have styled up our error messages and they're all looking good. We're going to go ahead and display those none, refresh our page, and now all we see is the input fields. Only thing we have left to do is add our buttons down below. After our last input field, we're going to do another section row, and then we're going to go to our HTML body for our home page and copy over the button that is there, because we're going to be using that same default button here for our sign up button. We're going to get rid of our ID for Hello World. And now we have our default button with a color of blue, and we're giving this a class and we're call it button sign up. The next video with JavaScript, we will target this button sign up and actually validate this entire form and show and hide error messages based on the input in the form. And we want to make sure we update this button to say sign up and not Hello World. Then we're going to have a div, and this is just going to say or. We'll give this a class, call it section or. Over in our styles, we're going to style up our section or. We're gonna give it a lot of margin on top, 20 pixels, and the same margin on the bottom, 20 pixels. Then we're gonna place that or text in the center, give it a little darker text color, so you can see it but it doesn't stand out too much. A little smaller font size, 12 pixels, and a user select of none, so it can't be highlighted. And that is our or, which is going to live between our sign up button and our login button. Now we're just going to place our login button right below our or. Log in, we're going to get rid of this button sign up class because this will just be wrapped in an A tag, which will send the user to the login page if they click on it. We're going to do an href base URL, which is just our home page. Since we don't have a login page yet, we can't send them to that login page. We'll get to the login page in a few episodes. We're going to add tracking to our login button, so whenever it gets clicked, it goes to Google Analytics. Our sign up tracking button will come when we create our JavaScript click for our button sign up in the next video. Over in our template default HTML, our users menu item here, our login A tag, we're going to copy the class and the data. Our class is GA_href, which means that our site will send this click to Google Analytics with a data GA name, and this is the event name we want to use that will show up in Google Analytics. We're going to call this the href login on our sign up page, and we'll throw that under the label login. If you guys missed how we set up Google Analytics on the site, go check out the last episode, episode 10, adding Google Analytics. Then all of this will make sense. But basically, any element on our website that we put GA_href on will fire off an event to Google, and it will pass along the event name here and the label. Alright, so we have our login button taken care of. Our sign up button will be taken care of along with the whole form validation in our next video where we use JavaScript to validate it. Now all that's left to do is check out our form. Refresh our page and we have a nice looking sign up form for our users. We've created an input field and added a default style to it. Then we set up the focus event and the hover event for that input field. And we've applied that class to all these input fields here in our signup form. Then we added our signup button and our login button. And in the next video, we're going to get into front-end validation with JavaScript for this signup form. And that is going to wrap up Hello World episode 11, signup form UI. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. More importantly, I hope you learned something. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you want to see coded up next. I'll catch you later.